Good evening, everyone. This meeting was called to order at 5 o'clock this evening. Downstairs, we went immediately in executive session for personnel. We interviewed 4 candidates for positions, and we'll make announcements only on one person, but not someone who was interviewed tonight because there's other people to interview. So now we'll resume with our open meeting. So I'll ask Jason, will you stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes from April 23rd. Everybody had a chance to look at them?
I move we approve those minutes.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on April 23rd? All in favor? And that's 6-4, 1 absent. The next are the minutes for May 1st, 2012.
So Paul Doucette was president with me.
Okay. Did you get that, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay. Any other, can I have a motion on the 1st of May?
So move.
Okay, do I have a second? Any other discussion? So just, we're voting on it with correction, adding Paul Doucette. All in favor? And that's 5-4.
I've got to abstain, I wasn't there.
That's right, and 1 abstention. You were there? You
I
were
was there.
Yeah. Okay. Next item, the warrants. I'll get organized here. And we'll start down with you, Chris.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay.
I have nothing,
Justin?
Joe.
Jim?
On page 5, number 3, 1172, Great Fields Kennel.
Yes. That's a bill for boarding dogs that were seized in an inhumane situation. And ultimately, we'll try to recover that if there is a charge brought against the owner for cruelty to animals.
That's the only one I have.
Justin? Or Jason?
The only question I've got, Stu, is the third one down on the first page, the temps for the rec center.
Yes.
I'm assuming that was one temp for
Yes.
2 weeks
Exactly.
and not going, but what was that temp for?
One of our full-time employees had a disability leave, and in order to cover all of the shifts necessary at the rec center, we had to bring in somebody on a temporary basis.
Was it a short notice thing? And the only reason I asked that question
relatively,
is if we had any notice, I would have said, could we find somebody, maybe a recent retiree, maybe somebody we know, because obviously going through a deco is a little bit pricier than the alternative.
It was short notice, but what a deco gives us is the ability that if that person does return with equally short notice, all we have to do is notify a deco and it ceases, and we don't have the whole unemployment issue and all of that stuff that goes with it. So, and the individual that was disabled will be returning to work next Monday, so.
That's all. Nope.
Nothing.
Stuart, page 7. National Alliance, and then the NEDA membership dues from Mike Harrington, newly hired in our economic development position. Are there any other memberships that we need to get Michael involved in as part of his job that you know of?
Well, I right off the top of my head, I don't. I know that he's been joining where appropriate. He's been attending some of the annual meetings for the Bennington County Regional Commission, the Bennington County Industrial Commission. So I think he's slowly feeling his way and getting involved as these things become known to him.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Joe, that was actually recommended
Mike,
by...
come up to the mic, Mike. Introduce yourself so everybody all may.
Hi.
There's nothing
Mike
wrong with
Harrington.
doing that. I mean, I expect you to be.
And I just wanted to let you know that the NEDA one was actually recommended by Pat Moulton
Right.
from her position in the Economic Development Office. So I've been traveling, or at least talking with different people in different areas about ways that they've been gathering information. So most of that stuff has been recommended to me one way or another by somebody else in the field.
Okay. Do you know if there's any other thing out there that you feel in your new position?
No, the one
that
thing
you'd be-
she recommended with the NEDA, and then there's a national one as well. The NEDA is Northeast, that they offer different trainings for people in the economic development field. And so that's why she recommended that, because
Okay.
there would be potential trainings in Albany and Connecticut and some other places that would be possible to attend as a
Okay,
member.
great, Mike. All right, next item on the agenda are citizens. Any citizens out there? Mr. Bethel,
Yeah, I'd just like to,
you want to introduce yourself, sir? So the
Mike
people
Bethel,
can-
Bennington. I had an idea of doing some entertainment down on the Town Hall Green. Greg and I talked about it, Joe and I think Justin and I talked about it. And I was just wondering if you'd let me try a few to see how it goes. There's no big proposal because I don't want to try to raise money and make this a big official thing. Just if it goes good, we'll do them. If it don't, we don't. But I got a couple of bands and a couple of DJs that said they might do it, almost on a volunteer basis. But I really need you guys to say, yes, it can be done, or no, it can't be done. Try to give it a trial thing where the BBC isn't going to do any entertainment downtown. Under the tent, I thought maybe we could try to do something for the community.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is there a bond needed for any of these events?
A bond?
Bond, insurance?
We generally would require groups who are using our facilities to provide a certificate of insurance. But it's not a bond per se. They just have to show that they are insured and can cover the liability that would be generated by the event. That's generally what we'd look for.
Okay. So if Mr. Bethel were to do this, would it be under the town's imprimatur, or would it be as a private individual?
I think Mike would prefer that it be under the town's umbrella.
So are we saying that the bands themselves will need to carry some sort of insurance? I mean, I'm just thinking if we're looking to have people do this on a almost volunteer basis for a period of time, that might, really cut down on some of the availability of people. We're asking them to provide their own paid insurance to do something for us, almost free
The
of
kind of
charge.
bands you're talking about generally don't carry liability
No,
insurance.
it's
if not
generally the event
incorporated or anything.
coordinator.
Right. right.
That has the umbrella. That's
So it
what the
would have to be under
BBC
the-
did, that's what the chamber
Right.
did when they put the summer under the tent on. They provided that umbrella insurance.
So we would provide it for Mike, or Mr. Bethel?
That's what he is asking for.
Yeah. So where are you thinking about doing this, Mike?
Actually, Greg came up with the idea, using the town hall front green and the porch there to set up the bands. Am I saying that right, Greg?
Yeah, it was the vision. I haven't, talked to Larry or
I
anybody.
talked to Larry, and he said he believes it could be done. The outlets are there. There's a porch there, so if it did sprinkle or something, And I just think it'd be fun to bring something downtown where, again, the BBC doesn't, want to do it or can't do it or whatever. I think music on a Friday night from whatever, 6 to 9 or 6 to 8 or whatever, just something to bring something downtown when the weather gets better. Maybe you could sell hot dogs or hamburgers or something, or,
I think I'd have to probably recuse myself from that. I don't know.
We're working 8 o'clock on a Friday night.
you could donate the money. You could donate the money to the cause for the band.
Thank you, Mike.
You want to be a part of it, you could.
I would like to sit down with you and Greg and see what we can develop. I can help you market it. I'm sure that we can get, quite a few elements in place with something like this. I'm all for it. I think it's great. I'm disappointed that BBC isn't doing it any longer.
Well, I talked to Sue McGuire, which you could help out because you were the youth. Sue McGuire says there's a lot of talented kids that would love to take advantage of it. And I talked to Eric Peterson, and he had a band call me that he teaches whatever he does at the CDC. And I can't remember the guy's name, Anthony, something, nice kid. And I says, well, we don't want any loud, crazy rock and roll swearing, blah, blah, blah. And he promised he wouldn't. And he sounded very respectful. So I just thought it'd be a way to get some kind of entertainment downtown. And again, try a few. If it goes, great. If it don't, there's no commitment to the whole summer. And that's I feel uncomfortable raising money for it because there's no way of telling how good it's going to go. As you know, money's tight. McCullough House needs money, the radio station needs money, everybody, you know, every 501c3 needs money, so I just figured let's try it and see how it goes.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you stepping up and trying to come up with something to help out with this. This, you know, the Under the Tent music series that the BBC used to do, I thought it was nice. It brought a lot of people out of the community. For whatever reason, they've decided not to do that anymore. But hopefully, you know, this is something we can take off with, and you know, I'm willing to help in hand with it also. So
I appreciate it.
You know, I was expecting some kind of off-the-wall bonehead presentation when you rolled in here.
hold back.
But,
Well, wait a minute, it's still early, I can still do that. I mean, you know, I can go around in circles and do that for a while if you want, you know.
but Mike, I will certainly help you out with this, and you know, this is sort of what I do for you know, in my position with the newspaper is, you know, market and promote these types of things, so.
If you could get us any publicity on it, that the select board said, yes, we're going to try it, it would also maybe bring people that would want to donate some money to it, or acts that would like to take interest in it. Again, Greg said he might want to be able to do it with his band.
Yep.
And
So what you're asking for us tonight is to...
just, yes, you can do it, try it out for a couple of events, see how it goes, and if it goes, let's keep doing it. If not,
Mike, when you brought this up at our last meeting, and I think you're hearing here, Select Board is generally behind what you're trying to do. I asked for a proposal, and what I've heard tonight is you've got at least 3 Select Board members that are willing to sit down with you and to give us a proposal. What I'd like to hear is, what will it cost to have that insurance policy so the town does not have to absorb it? Because as you said, the town is there. And having done this before with a political action committee, I don't believe that's very expensive, but I'd like to know what that is. I'd like to know what our facilities guy says, is that's Larry McLeod. Can we support that from the amperage there? I'd like to know whether Paul Doucette feels that he would have to have extra overtime for security, what night you'd like to do it. And I'd like a sense of some of the business people downtown, because one of the reasons that BBC stopped doing this is BBC's obviously charter and contract is to support the businesses that are downtown, and that even though it was a great event, like our 4th of July, like our Battle Day is a great event for people, it did not do much to help our business people downtown, and this is. So, Mike, what I'm asking, if you'll sit down with, what I've heard is Chris, Justin, and Greg willing to sit down with you and just come up with a quick proposal.
Well,
You're saying 2
basically-
nights, you know, you've talked to 2 bands. If Greg one of them, that's fine. That band, what's it going to cost? What are we talking about money-wise?
it's not going to cost.
Well,
It's volunteer, and I'm not going to raise money for insurance when the town can cover it.
Okay.
Larry could come back and tell us whether it can be done or not. That's certainly a fair thing, but I don't want to go out raising money sort of on false pretenses. If it works well, and then we think we need more, then we'll do it. But this is sort of a trial basis thing that, again, I'm volunteering to do it, and I can ask other people to volunteer to try to do it. But I don't feel comfortable raising money on something that we don't know. If nobody comes around, nobody sits and socializes, nobody listens to it, let's not do it, you know.
I think you probably will get an audience if you do it. I mean, we traditionally have. One of the big challenges of this, Mike, has always been staffing at the show. Somebody needs to be there to greet the band, to you know, show them where the power is, that kind of thing. And that may, you know, there might be internships or something, you know, interns that are interested in doing something like that, you know, and help you out with that. But that's one of the big challenges of the BBC, is there was always, you know, it's Friday and Saturday night, somebody had to be hanging around to greet the bands, pay them, make sure they knew where everything was, make sure everything got closed down right, the power was turned off, yada, yada, and all that stuff. So,
I would be there most of the time, and I think Sue McGuire and Eric Peterson might help me out with that, with some of the younger people to.
and it's good to have an alternating if you can, because obviously the summer plans come up, people dart in and out of town and things come up, but I think that you'll find that's probably your biggest challenge.
Okay.
Stuart, can you get the information for us on what the insurance piece may be or not be?
Sure. Okay. Why don't we get that in there, and then you 3 willing to work with Michael on this?
Yeah.
You think we have something in front of us? I'd like to know, you know, what's our proposal? 1 time, 2 times? What do we need to test it? Are the bands going to be local? Well, you know the kind of
Yeah.
stuff there. I think you got some expertise here in our next meeting, not the next meeting, first meeting in June, because the next one won't be televised. and we'll go from there, okay?
Sounds
All
good.
right, Mike, these guys will help you and work with you, and we'll get you the cost.
I'd like to be able to have something up and running by June, though. That's the point. If we drag it out too long, if we make too big a deal of it, just say no and I won't do
Well,
it.
you know, Mike, you know, we got Mayfest coming up, which is a big deal, coming in May,
Right.
okay? June, you still got kids in school. School's extended this year because of the strike and things,
That's
those
right,
extra
too, you're right.
days. So I think,
July,
I think,
all right.
that's what I would
July,
ask.
August.
Yeah.
I think kick it off
No proposal.
right after July 4th would probably
You
be
know?
perfect.
All
time to
right.
do it.
And really-
Maybe into, well, no, September kids go back to
Yeah.
school, so.
Okay?
Let's do July and August, try it out. All right,
Thanks, Mike.
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other citizens out there like to speak to us? No? Okay. All right, next item is appointment to boards. I believe we have one person we're ready to make an announcement on, is that correct?
Joe, I'll make the motion that we appoint Kendi Skidmore to the Town Service Officer position.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion on Kendi? Not all in
I
favor?
would like to say thanks to Kendi publicly
Yes.
for stepping up and continuing to do this. It's been pretty well established. We all have a little, you know, there was a mistake made in the previous vetting process, and the fact that Kendi's willing to do this says a lot for Kendi.
That's
So
correct.
thank you to Kendi for that.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of Kendi? And that's 6-4, one absent. So just for everybody's information out there, we still have appointments to be made for the Historic Preservation Commission, the Planning Commission, the Regional Commission. We did the Town Service Board, and we're going to, Town Service Officer, and we still have the Development Review Board. So there'll be more interviews, and there'll be more announcements coming in the future meetings.
Joe will also have the Housing Authority.
And the Housing Authority, yes, I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, managers report, Stuart?
Just a couple of things, just an announcement that we're going to be having that shred event sponsored by the Vermont State Employees Credit Union, which is now the Vermont Employee Credit Union. It's gone statewide. They're sponsoring the shred event for Saturday, June 2nd from 9 to 1 at the town offices. Individuals and businesses can bring 10 file boxes of material to be shredded at no cost. Catamount Rotary and the Mount Anthony Interact Club will be providing a car wash and assisting with the event. So that's for everyone out there who will be seeing. There'll be a banner up. There'll be some additional advertising that comes forward. I handed out at the beginning of the meeting the water and sewer enterprise fund budget proposals, and we'll have to talk about meeting schedules. We have the remainder of May and the month of June in which to act, so you folks might want to think about what your plans are for vacations and other things, and how we sit down and get through those two budgets. And as Joe, you mentioned or alluded to, we'll be meeting next Monday night at 5 o'clock at the town offices, really just to do
We're going to
warrants.
do here, Stuart.
Pardon me?
We're gonna do
I'm
it
sorry,
here.
that's right, I'm sorry, here, on the second floor, just to do warrants, so that many of these board members can also attend the Planning Commission forum that's going to follow. And then we won't meet Monday evening of Memorial Day. We really tried, but
Right.
no, just kidding. And then the last thing is, at the last meeting, I handed you a letter request from the Bennington Fire Department for additional funds for the upcoming Battle Day celebration. Normally, the budget contains, as it does this year, $10,000 to help support the bands and the parade event. Obviously, I think the department's done an incredibly good job as far as bringing additional bands into the parade, and that costs money. And so at this point, the department is requesting an additional $7,000 from the board to help support the Battle Day celebration. If you are willing to do it, I think that I can say with fair certainty that it would best that the money be committed from this year's contingency.
From fiscal 12.
Yes. We would put it into reserve for the Battle Day event, which would come in FY13, just because we've had a very good year financially this year. The winter was very good to us. And so there will be additional funds available to us if the board was of a mind to set that money aside.
I'd like to point out something that many people in town may not know, is that the Firemen's Convention is here in Bennington this year, and there are over 1,000 firemen, just firemen, coming into town. That I would imagine it would include their families, so I think it's going to be quite a boon for local businesses with that convention here.
Stu, traditionally, until the last couple of years, I think we budgeted 15,000.
That's correct.
That's right.
Not 10. I mean, we were at 15, and with a lot of consternation and nobody being really enthusiastic, but making a couple big cuts, we went down to 15. I don't mean to put Steve on the spot. I know you're asking for 17, and I understand things go up over time, but is there anything in particular in going to 17 instead of except for the last 2 years, I think, 15?
Chief, will you come up to the mic, please?
Jason, it's just with the way the travel and the economics are, you know, when we reached out to the bands, each year they keep going up a little bit as far as to getting them here,
Yeah.
just for the fuel costs and everything like that.
Okay, so it's just
If,
general cost of living is the...
General cost of
Okay.
everything. Yep.
I had to ask because it's an increase from the traditional 15 to 17, but I just...
Right, and this year's budget only contained 10.
Well, I know, and I know we're at 10 now, we were at 15, there's no question, okay.
And most of these guys come in on buses, I assume, which,
Most of them are high school bands or military bands or thereabouts from all over the Northeast usually.
renting buses or
Yep.
leasing or whatever, and
Exactly.
that hasn't gotten any cheaper.
I'd like to move that we take the $7,000 out of this year's contingency and put it in reserve for next year, so that we can appropriate the $17,000 to the Battle Day Parade.
Second.
I have motion and second. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Hang on a second. Justin, you had your hand
I
up
would
first.
just add, I guess, that, you know, it's hard to stomach an increase like this when it comes to anything, but you folks put in so much effort to, you know, to bring us this quintessential Bennington event that we've had forever. And costs rise. I want to see the event go on like it's been, if not even get better. So really thank you for all that you guys do with it. And you know, as hard as it is to allocate more funds when we're in the times we are, we really, I'm sure I speak for the board when I say we appreciate everything you guys do with it.
Thank you.
Jason?
Just want, which contingency is this coming out
It
of?
would be the general fund contingency, the usually $10,000 at the very end of the budget. I think it's 8100.790 under the general fund. It's one of the last of the groups of funds there.
Stu, that's impressive. With over 1,000 different line items and account numbers here, you had your finger right on the contingency fund. That's the sign of an experienced town manager. And there's money there to be used, so I'm all for it.
Any other board members? I'm obviously going to support this. Jim brought up a good point, and it is a state firemen's convention. It's been done here before. It is a big event. There's another aspect. You can expect every politician in the state of Vermont being here, being an election year. They'll be down here. And just for everybody, you know, we talk about Battle Day Parade, which is a Vermont state holiday, but it's not just a one-day affair that the firemen put on there. I mean, they do a lot of things, and a lot of it's their fundraising that they use for other things in this community besides just their volunteer efforts, and that's it's well worth it. And Jason's correct. We went through a few years ago, and we cut it from traditionally 15,000 down to 10,000, and it was hard doing that. Fortunately, I think we had some folks step up, private organizations help us, but I don't think we're in that situation today where many organizations come up. So I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And that's 6-4 and 1 absent. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And thanks for last Saturday. You guys,
thank you.
very professional, and
Delicious.
congratulations to those 30, 40, and 50-year volunteers that you got in that department. That's terrific. Okay, anything else, Stuart?
No, that's it for me.
All right, Jason, we'll start with you, other business?
Yeah, I want to go back to the last meeting, and I want to talk about that water budget again and just get some answers. And so that everybody knows, I'm at fault for not calling Stu back. I think he had some answers for me, and maybe we can just look at it again, and maybe an answer can be given tonight and maybe not. But to refresh people's memories, we were asked, and the board voted either 5-1 or 6-1 against, yours truly being the against vote, that we were going to commit $163,000 of the reserve out of $209,000 available in the water fund reserve due to an accounting issue, which I know can sometimes be a comfortable way of explaining away something. I didn't understand the accounting issue at the time, and after looking at it, I still don't, because as I look over last year's notes for the water fund, I see we discussed it as part of fiscal year 12. It's budgeted as part of fiscal year 12, which we're in. The last budget update we had prior to the previous meeting showed those funds available in that fund. The budget update that we got since that meeting in preparation for this meeting still shows those funds available. I can't see how it's related to Irene, because if it was a quote-unquote Irene cost, I would have thought that fell under the umbrella of the $5 million borrowing authority, which the last time this board was updated, we still had room available to borrow if need be. And I'm not even asking for an answer tonight, but can we just look at where is it in, maybe I'm just ignorant. Can I get a better explanation of the quote-unquote accounting issue? Because I don't see the accounting issue.
If I may, Joe? I did leave you a voicemail
You did,
there.
you absolutely did, and that was, I've been buried, and I didn't call you back, and that's my
a great explanation, but basically, what we're anticipating is the project's going to overrun fiscal years, not necessarily its bid. So we're going to move from FY12 into FY13, essentially expending the dollars, all of the dollars we have in FY12, and perhaps not having the funds to carry over. And it all relates to the issue of depreciation. At the end of the year, June 30th, the finance director will grab any unexpended funds and move those into the depreciation account, which means that technically there won't be those funds available to carry into FY13 to finish the project. So we'll commit the funds from the existing reserves now, just in case we need to use them. If we finish the project and we don't cross into the next fiscal year, then there's no issue. The monies aren't expended, and the monies remain in the reserve.
Well, okay, if that's the issue, then what would prevent this board from making a motion to direct you and/or the finance director to not, I mean, without going back through the paperwork, well, let me go through the paperwork. There was, on that line item as of February 7th, which is what I pulled out, and I think the number's the same in the April 30th number that we got prior to this meeting, there is remaining in that line item $169,000 to be spent. And I think that's about the same in the most recent book, most recent accounting report. So if I'm hearing you right, you're not you, but our finance director is going to take that $169,000 and put it in the depreciation account, which is, I would have thought it actually went into reserves, but I don't pretend to be an accountant.
Because we have not accrued enough money to cover the depreciation.
It's going to go towards,
I mean, the depreciation is in a sense a reserve, but it's really a different format.
okay. Then I guess the question would be, would there be any sound accounting reason why we wouldn't direct the the finance director or direct you as the town managers to say, don't take that $169,000, put it into the reserve, and then the reserve won't be 209, it will be 379, and spend it from the 379.
Let me confirm that we can do that. That may be. I'd just like to talk with the auditors about that kind of
Because it's being
movement.
used for the same project we talked about in the fiscal
You're
year
right.
12
You're
decision.
right.
It prevents this board from, I mean, not to belabor the point, but it's 80% of
The reserves.
a reserve that frankly is underfunded, as we've discussed annually every year I've been going through this. So I feel pretty comfortable. So I don't think anybody, I didn't anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, felt comfortable 3 weeks ago that as a result of the motion that was made, the vote that carried, that money was coming back into the budget through depreciation. And if I'm hearing you right tonight, it wouldn't be. It would have to stick in that line item because it's technically underfunded according to the schedule of depreciation of those assets that we employ.
Right. I'll get back, in fact, I'll have an answer for you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, let me add to that then, because I'm confused now. The motion was to approve up to $163,000 if needed. So first question, is it still needed?
Most likely, I don't know entirely what the funds will be needed.
But you
because
anticipate at
we're
least some of the
moving forward.
funds?
We're moving forward with the project, so that project's going to be starting any day now. So some of those funds will be expended, and if we complete the project in a timely fashion, we should be, I'm thinking we should be okay, but I'll have a detailed answer for you next
Can I
week.
ask one question on
Well,
this?
let me finish my thought here before I forget it. But we also brought up the issue that 90% of what I thought was this 163 was probably going to be reimbursable from FEMA?
No, this is the North Side Drive project that we're talking about here. It's phase 3 of 4. So this is to continue that
Actually, it's
North
mostly
Side.
phase 2.
Yes.
Phase 2, thank you. I know there are 4. So it's to do the project on North Side Drive. And we've gone through the bid process. I believe the bid has been awarded, and the contractor, I think, is getting ready to start very soon.
Okay.
So the question is, if the project wraps up by the end of June, if it moves very quickly, that creates one scenario. If it carries over fiscal years, that creates a different scenario. And I'll have very detailed information for you next
All
time.
right, Justin?
So as of right now, technically, we have these funds, and if they weren't taken and put into the depreciation fund account, theoretically, the money would still be there, correct? I mean,
Technically, it is still there, but we expect to expend
Okay.
it before the year's out.
So it's not an issue of shortage of money at this point. It's how we account for it, is that?
That's correct.
Okay.
I would just say the other thing is if if it hits depreciation, then we can't just go grab it if we're short. So even though we voted, as Joe just pointed out, quote unquote, if needed, once it's gone, if we just apply it, it's gone. And we've lost 80% of the rather meager reserve that we've got there to begin with. So what I'd like to, hopefully this board would do, I hope, and I can't do it because I voted against it, would be when we get that information next week from Stu, that one of the 5 or 6 who did vote for it make a motion to reconsider and we redo the math on that.
Okay, so Stuart, you're going to sit down with Steve Love? And you're gonna sit down with
Well, I'll sit with Melissa. She'll contact the auditors. I'll also get the exact monetary details of the project itself from Terry, so that you'll have a complete breakdown of what the anticipated cost is and the construction schedule.
Is it possible to have a brief memo in our packet before the meeting next week?
We'll certainly do that.
And if we get our packet, folks, if you have a question, call Stuart before the meeting, so we have answers for that when we sit here, okay? Please? Okay. I think what you said, and I'm not believe me, I'm not an accountant or anybody, but please, what you
Hey,
said
I took an
makes
accounting
sense.
class from a guy named Easy A. Vijay
Is
in
that what it
college,
is?
and I took a very easy B out of the course, so I'm no accounting whiz.
Yeah,
but
well, I
I
was
just
married to an
I
accountant,
can't-
but it didn't do me any good. Okay, anything else, Jason?
No.
Greg?
No.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
Justin?
No, nothing this evening.
Jim? Just a reminder, we talked about next Monday's meeting, is it's going to be here. It will not be televised because of schedules, it doesn't work that way. Why are we doing it that way? Because Memorial Day is the following Monday. We, by charter, must have 2 meetings per month, and this will be our second meeting. So any citizens out there feel they want to address the Select Board next Monday, please be here in order to do so. We've had an executive session for personnel. Is there any other need to go in executive session?
I have nothing tonight, Joe.
Anyone? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, folks. We need to sign the warrants.